Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Around the League with Nico. I'm your host, the Cosmic Night Fury, head of Sports Battlefield, Nico Suave Regoli. We have two guests who are at least scheduled to be here. One of them is here presently. The other one, he's in a different time zone. It's possible he's asleep. Maybe, I don't know. But if he wakes up, he'll show up whenever. But first, let's get to the guest that is here, and that would be the Hobbit, the one and only Robert Parker. How are you tonight, my friend?
I am doing great. Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's been a long weekend, a little bit of sunny weekend, if you couldn't tell, here in the cold north of Wisconsin. But it's good. I'm feeling good.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell that you are slightly sunburned.
A little bit, a little bit.
Been there. Don't have the best skin either. So, before we get to the actual matches that have happened this week, your reputation is just one of the strongest in this entire community. Like, people fear you when they are booked in a match with you. And your record speaks for itself. So just like, what do you have to say to that?
I really appreciate you saying that. I think as one of the people who's been around in these fan leagues a little bit longer than some other people, I mean, over a year I've been doing these, which has been a big part of my life for over a year, and it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. But I'm also an extremely competitive person, so I think that's a lot of where that comes from too. But in certain formats and in certain leagues, my record is much better than in others. So I don't know that people should be as intimidated as they sometimes are.
Okay. Before I get to my next question, just let me state that if something goes wrong with my Wi-Fi, I'm so getting back to your success in certain leagues compared to others, back in the old format of There Will Be Trivia, you were the season 2 champion. Now there have been some changes to the format. It went like There Will Be Trivia merged with Worldwide Movie Trivia into what is now known as the Worldwide Movie Games Network, and now the name of There Will Be Trivia has been changed back to Worldwide Movie Trivia. And you're not in heavyweight title contention per se, but you are still at the top of the rankings in regards to that. And you are now one of the you are one of the players to look out for as the new Geek division, Full Metal Geek specifically, gets underway. So, how are you feeling about your chances as Full Metal Geek, Worldwide Movie Games, geek-centered trivia competition finds who its top stars are going to be?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I definitely had pretty poor showings in both singles and teams normal tournaments when the Worldwide Movie Games tournament started. So that's why I say, my record and my showings haven't always been great, especially when the IMDb round has existed in general movie trivia. But yeah, since then in Full Metal Geek, in fandom fights, that is definitely my wheelhouse. That's where I live. That's where I breathe. That is my home turf. And I definitely feel like, I don't want to discount any other players because there's a lot of other really great geek minds who have a lot of knowledge, who have a lot of skill at the game, who are just great people. So there's a lot of other really strong geek competitors. But even so, I think I'm one of the most well-rounded players that has ever played in fandom or in inner geekdom of any kind, or Full Metal Geek or what have you. I think I'm one of the most well-rounded people, and that really, really helps my chances. I don't really have weaknesses. I don't really have a lot of categories that I am scared to answer questions from, which is really helpful when you're trying to just score as many points as you can in a Full Metal Geek setting to get into the normal league, or you're just trying to, get a really good score in round one or a really good accuracy rating in the fandom fights or things like that. So I think that's where I benefit the most, is just having a really wide range of knowledge in a lot of different geek categories.
Speaking of fandom fight and stuff like Multiplex, we did have 4 matches this week, 2 of which you were in. But before we get to that, let's discuss your most recent IG/fandom related endeavors. A couple months ago, you challenged Chance the Titan Ellison for the Jack of All Trivia Intergeekdom Championship. And in regards to your multiplex debut, you faced off against Malcolm Goldie Lay, the Crusher, in the opening round of the inaugural championship tournament. One of those matches went your way. The other one, sadly, did not. That can be blamed on a Star Trek question, I believe.
It's sort of what you're referencing there is obviously me losing the title match against Chance by 1 question. I lost to him. And part of it was Chance actually was the one who got Star Trek on the wheel, and in my opinion, some of his questions were not at all championship level questions. Whereas my scores and soundtracks questions, they asked me who composed Steel and Road to Perdition and things like that. So I think the questions were. And I don't like going after question writers at all. I'm not trying to attack anybody, but sometimes questions can seem a little bit more uneven, especially in a championship setting when the stakes are so high. But even so, I didn't play my best game against Chance. I missed the question that will forever haunt me, the one that I missed that caused me to lose the match, was an IMDb sort of round where I missed a Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them question. So that's the one that forever haunts me, because if I would have hit that, I would have won the title. But regardless, I did end up going to face Malcolm in the round 1 of the tournament. Malcolm's a great guy. I've known him for a while through, back when I started in the trivia over a year ago. He's a really nice guy, really knowledgeable, especially in the fandom area. I did have a pretty solid debut there. If I remember right, I think I tied for the highest percentage in a debut and tied for second for a highest points debut in a singles match. So I was really proud of my performance there, and it really helped me go into round 2 with a little bit more confidence.
I do remember the IMDb question. I remember you I think you had it right, and then you second guessed yourself, and you wrote The Force Awakens.
Well, what happened was the year was 2016, and then they gave you some keywords. One of them was like Oscar winner. One was New York City or something like that. So as soon as I hear 2016 Oscar winner, I just thought, oh, Suicide Squad, because Kane likes to make that joke. So I wrote that down, and then I needed the repeat, and I thought about it, and I'm like, wait, no. I forgot what I wrote down. I wrote something else down. Oh, I wrote down Doctor Strange because that was New York City. But I'm like, oh wait, no, that didn't win. It was just nominated for Oscar. Sorry to erase that. And I'm like, wait, Doctor Strange lost to Jungle Book that year for visual effects. Man, Jungle Book is a really good movie. So then I started thinking about how good Jungle Book is for about 5 to 10 seconds, and that just wasted my entire time. And I just scribbled down Rogue One, which clearly does not take place in New York City. And then that was the Fantastic Beasts question that will forever haunt me, forever.
Strangely enough, Jungle Book could now be an answer in fantasy.
Exactly.
Who knows? That might come back to haunt you again, or work entirely in your favor. You never know.
Exactly.
All right. Before we get to the matches that happened this week, still waiting on Grant, by the way. Is there anybody that you have not faced yet one-on-one that you really want to face? Because I know Malcolm Lay, he was someone that you really wanted to face one-on-one that you never got the chance to, despite having been in the same circles for a year. You had played each other in multi-person matches, but never one-on-one.
Yeah, that's definitely right. I have been wanting to play Malcolm one-on-one since last June. For over a year, I've been wanting to play him one-on-one. Originally in just normal movie trivia, and that was supposed to happen. And then the merger happened at Worldwide Movie Games, and rescheduling and reshooting and tournaments and all this happened. Just never worked out between Malcolm and I. But eventually, finally, we were able to face one-on-one. I have a lot of respect for Malcolm, and I was really happy that we were finally, after over a year of waiting, we were able to play each other. So that was just really fun for me, because when I was a fan and never actually competing in these leagues, he was my favorite competitor to watch. So it was a little bit of a fan dream come true to finally play him one-on-one. But yeah, that was a match that was in the works for a very long time.
That still does not answer my question. Who else would you like to face?
Yeah, there's a few people. Specifically, there's a few people that I would want to play one-on-one in a fandom setting or in a geek setting. People like Caleb Coho is one that immediately jumps to mind. Somebody like, who we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a minute, Alex Warden, is somebody who comes to mind. Those are two people that I definitely want to play one-on-one in a fandom or a geek style match, because those are both really good players that are really underrated, that I just want to I want to challenge myself. I want to put myself up against the best. I don't want to walk through the league just facing the Tom Dagninos of the world. I really want to take on the best, and that seeing players that are really underrated or that have a wealth of knowledge and the question just might not go their way, that's what makes me want to take on that person. As far as normal movie trivia goes, Jake Marangoni is somebody that comes to mind. We've played this week. We played in fandom, but we never have played one-on-one in movies. We've debated in Movie Battleground, and we faced in fandom, but we've never played in normal movies. We're obviously former teammates, so that's an angle that I would really like to do. And then obviously, I mean, there's just dreams. Like, I would love to play Jeremy Adams in 1v1 movies. I would get my butt kicked. I would lose instantly, but that's a rite of passage. You have to say that you got your ass kicked by Jeremy every once in a while.
So you mentioned fandom settings. Obviously, we're going to get to your matches soon. I promise you, we're going to get to your matches soon, as well as the other two that happened this week. But I want to ask, I can't remember if you signed up for it or not, but Jim Green announced this week that there will be a TV Throwdown Fandom Fight Edition coming soon. Like, I don't know what your skills are in terms of TV, but I'd have to imagine that if there's a Lord of the Rings Amazon series coming out soon, you're probably going to want to watch that religiously. And like, I'm imagining that you've probably seen your fair share of television shows that would be in those categories.
Actually, I appreciate you thinking that, but actually, I don't really watch a lot of episodic anything, whether it be television or like Netflix shows or any sort of streaming shows. I don't really watch a lot of that at all. Like, I was watching some of the Arrowverse matches and I was just lost. I don't watch Arrow or Flash, or I don't watch any of the Netflix Marvel shows, which is like when I tell people that, it's a little bit of a surprise to some people. I don't watch Rebels. I don't watch all of these.
My eyes. Do you see my eyes?
I know. I know. I get this judgment all the time, but actually, I didn't sign up for the fandom TV fights because I know that I would have to do a lot of studying to be competitive in that league, and I never, just my competitive nature, I never want to like half-ass a match or not go in fully prepared or not come to actually play. I don't want to come to not fight. And it would take a lot of studying and a lot of backlog of watching to catch up with where a lot of the other TV players are at. So I'm taking a step back for this one. I'll be happy to watch every match and support all the competitors and see who really does know their fandom TV. But in general, that's not my neck of the woods as much.
Okay. One last thought before we finally get into this week. There's been talk of a wrestling division eventually coming to Multiplex Entertainment. You have competed once in Jack of All Trivia's wrestling division, and to everyone's surprise, you actually know some stuff about wrestling.
To my own surprise as well. I mean, I barely escaped that match with the win, and I was not expecting to at all. I was into wrestling a little bit more, specifically WWE, when I was younger, but not like there's a period where I watched where I know basically everything from that period. And other than that, I can nitpick and guess some things around, but overall I am not very knowledgeable. I would not consider myself a contender in that league whatsoever, especially against all of the other people that we know are great in that league, people like you and JTH and Hunter and just the multitude of other people who could be competitive in that league. I am absolutely not up there with those names. So, maybe here or there I would do a call-up match just to test my own knowledge, but never to seriously contend, I don't think.
All right, now let's finally get into the matches of this week here in Multiplex Entertainment. I really wanted to have Grant on for this part of the discussion because the first match of this week was you versus Dan Skip Allen for the right to face Grant Gregory in round 2 of the movie Warzone tournament. Dan got his strength of sports movies in round 2, if I'm correct, but still you managed to pull through. Like, I believe you even did you say at the end of the match, did you feel like you got lucky or am I just remembering the video wrong?
It's possible I might have said that. We both got our strength in round 2. I got comic book movies in round 2, and he got sports movies. Both of us answered 3 of the 4 questions correctly. I actually ended up getting the steal on the 4th question that he didn't get right. He didn't steal mine that I got wrong. But yeah, we both got strengths in round 2, so I think we both got a little bit lucky there. I think more than me getting lucky, I was ahead by a decent margin in the end of round 1. I don't remember the exact point spread. Probably, I think like 2 or 3 points I was ahead. And both of us did really well in our strengths in round 2 because there are strengths. Of course, we would do well. When it comes to round 3, I think Dan just got unlucky with his numbers that he picked. I don't think it's necessarily that I lucked out in any way. I think Dan is actually really solid and really underrated competitor. We saw him get sports movies in my match against him. We've seen him get other categories like Scorsese and new releases that he is really, really solid in. So when he gets categories that he's really good at, he's really scary. And his record, I don't think, really shows how good of a player he can be. But yeah, overall, I think he got unlucky in that final round, and I was able to get by with a TKO there.
Having worked behind the scenes with Dan and also having played him in a team match a few months back, I know for a fact how strong Dan is. Like, if it's movies or sports or a combination of the two, he retains the information incredibly well. And for you to beat him, even though you were ranked higher, I believe, that's a big feather in your cap. And now you will move on in the movie Warzone Championship Tournament to face who was supposed to be the other guest. Grant, wake up, please. You're facing Grant Gregory in the next round. I was really hoping he'd be here for the back and forth banter, which I had a feeling would be the most civil banter of any people who are about to fight ever, because he's a relaxed Aussie and you're just a child who's here to have fun. So tell me, how are you feeling about facing Grant Gregory, the former Jack of All Trivia Movie Division champion, someone who he runs the comic book league. He is a wealth of knowledge in his own right.
Yeah, I am feeling focused, determined, and confident facing Grant. We have faced once before one-on-one in movies. That was a different league. It was a very different format. I think that format definitely played more to his strengths than to mine when we did face. So he did beat me by TKO last time, but it's a new league. It's a new format. It's new records. It's new questions. It's new everything. And I absolutely believe that I have the knowledge to be able to beat Grant. Honestly, it's a toss-up between him and I. It's what questions go whose way on the day. I think luck's going to play a bit of a factor, but I think I definitely think that I have what it takes to beat him.
And if Grant ever wakes up, we will hear his side of the story as to how he thinks that match is going to go. But until we get to that, let's get to TV Throwdown. Tuesdays, we had another match between two debutantes. The current two-time Jack of All Trivia Wrestling Division champion, JTH Jeremy Hastings, taking on 1/4 of the Wild Bunch, 1/2 of the Notorious Chance, Mr. Russell Howell. A fellow Pittsburgher. Well, he lives in Ohio, but he represents the 412 proudly. I should have watched this match back before we went live because I know you have not seen this match either. What I remember distinctly is that I was a bit of a dick on commentary. I was taking little jabs at both competitors because they were there simply to try. They figured, we're just trying this out. We have no we have no beliefs in ourselves to go to the championship level at any time soon in TV. But, you know, they did well for the questions that they got. It was kind of single-digit scores at the end, but they still did fairly well. Russell, I believe he got game shows for his round 2 category. Yeah, which isn't easy. It was either game shows or family shows. I can't remember for sure. JTH, I honestly can't remember anything he got. I just remember he took the win, and he is very happy to come back and try again. So it'll be interesting to see where they both get paired up in terms of television in the future. Russell, I can't remember if he said he would come back at all to TV Throwdown, but I don't know. I don't want to rag on Russell because I've also been on a bit of a losing streak of my own, but since joining Multiplex Entertainment, things have not gone the way Russell Howell would hope, and I feel kind of I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him because I'm on that same journey of where am I headed, and I'm rooting for him to find his footing in terms of multiplex because he has shown he is a very good competitor. Paul Oyama is saying one of them got 90s hits, so shout out to Paul Oyama. I still can't remember which one of them got 90s hits, but you know, I'm rooting for Russell Howell to eventually find some momentum here in Multiplex Entertainment because that's what we want. We want people to have fun. We want them to come back and have a pleasurable experience. And JTH, he's definitely happy he won when he had no hope in himself. With all the words I've just thrown out there, and you not having seen the match, do you have any thoughts at all?
Yeah, I mean, the one comment I can make is Russell obviously is another member of Alpha Alliance, along with me, Chance, and a few others. So obviously, I hope he comes back in as many different facets as he can, because Russell is definitely another player that I feel in almost every league he competes in is extremely underrated. I don't think his record really I don't think his record represents in any league how good of a player he can be, how much potential he has. So I really hope to see him back soon, and I really hope that he can bounce back.
Okay, taking a small break from the matches that dropped this week. You mentioned that you and Russell are both members of Alpha Alliance, specifically here in Multiplex. But outside, I mentioned that Russell is a member of the Wild Bunch. You are a new member of the Renegade Angels.
I am.
What is that like? What is that like?
It feels freeing, like a weight has been lifted off my back because I'm here. Well, Evan and Abe are crap. First off, that I'm contractually obligated to say that as a member of the Renegade Angels. I signed a piece of paper. It says I have to mention that. So Evan and Abe are crap. But I'm here under a fearless leader who organized us all, Chris Clark, the man himself. And I'm here to I'm here in the Renegade Angels to win titles, win matches, and say that Evan and Abe are crap. So that's what I'm going to do.
Speaking of Chris Clark, what is he doing? What is he doing? Like, because it is the weirdest strategy I've ever seen to getting attention. Basically saying that everyone is leaving the factions they are a part of to go join him, then posting fake videos.
They're not fake.
Really? Which ones are real?
Oh, all of them. The one with him and the cats, the one with him and Jan, they're all real.
How does one negotiate?
They're all joining the Renegade Angels. Look, Chris Clark is a negotiator. He makes good deals. He knows what's up. He knows how to convince people to do things for the betterment of themselves, really. Everybody who is a part of Atomic Nation, all these other factions, they're not helping themselves. So Chris knows how to really get to them in that sense. He knows how to provide entertainment, and he knows how to negotiate, and that's what he's been doing.
How does one negotiate with cats? Like, what do you offer?
You saw the video. You offer them. That's a good question. You can offer food or more time with Chris. That's the most valuable currency, is time with Chris. So really, when he offers the cats that time, that currency, very valuable. The exchange rate is off the charts. Chris is really able to hone in on that and connect with the cats and offer them more time, and they keep coming back.
Okay. First, let me just address some people in the chat. Of course, we have Paulo Yama again. He's clearing up that Russell was the one that got 90s hits. Matthew Rosa, my boy, he said, "Never said I'm leaving House Night Fury. I feel sad that I'm excluded," meaning that he feels sad that he was excluded from Chris Clark's nonsense. JTH, he's pointing out that he got Arrowverse in round 2. So before we get to the Fandom Fight matches on Friday, I just want to ask you, can you get me, Felix and Crowley Adams, to come on Around the League next week if they are members of the
well, I don't know legally how much I'm allowed to say. I did sign a non-disclosure agreement, so I don't know how much legally I'm allowed to say, but I can ask. We'll leave it at that.
What are you not legally allowed to disclose?
There's a couple things, but I've already said too much.
I would get out now before you get in some serious trouble with the law. But okay,
we got cats.
Okay, let's move on to Fandom Fight Friday. 2 matches dropped. Yours was the second. Let's go to the first. So the first match was Chance the Titan Ellison, the guy with 4 belts in 3 different leagues, taking on someone who was originally not supposed to be in round 2, but due to things I cannot explain, he was given a second chance, Ryan the Hunter Permison. And, they mentioned it at the end of the match that those questions were written for both Chance and the person who did get into round 1. And Ryan, he was basically a fish out of water for the large majority of the match, so much so that they had to officially change the knockout rule from a 20-point deficit to 11, which I am very happy about, because there were, specifically with the very first play-in match that we did, in which Eli just wrecked shop on everybody. I feel like that the knockouts should have been called very, very early on in that match. So thank you, Chance, for changing the rules to something that I think a lot of people will be much happier about. But again, Chance is on this way to winning another belt, which a lot of us are probably, at least if we're not going to say it publicly, we're keeping it inside that we really just want someone else to win a belt. So as someone who could potentially face him in the finals when we finally have our first pay-per-view style event, whenever that may be, how did you view that match and the outcome of it and the implications for the future?
Yeah. So first off, both Ryan and Chance, again, members of Alpha Alliance. I don't know what it is about the tournament bracket just always putting Alpha Alliance members up against each other. It must be because we keep winning matches. But I think Ryan, a little bit unlucky with the questions. Ryan, what he does know, the categories he is strong in, he is very, very good in. We've seen him play really solid against people like Caleb Coho, who is now in the semifinals. We've seen him play well against many different competitors. So Ryan is no slouch, but he's not an extremely well-rounded competitor. And he'll be one of the first people to say that. There are categories he is not extremely strong in. Chance is a very well-rounded player. We saw that really take form in the match, especially at the end of round 1. Overall, I think Ryan had a sort of a bad show. It wasn't really his day. Chance obviously proving why he deserves to be there, because he's very knowledgeable and he does deserve to be there. But ultimately, don't you worry, I will be taking that belt before Chance does, because there will not be another Fantastic Beasts flub when him and I face in the finals.
You mentioned that both of these guys are, at least here, they're Alpha Alliance members. Ryan Permison, Ian Kane recently faced Eurotrip in a worldwide movie trivia tag team match that dropped earlier this week. And I believe there was some Star Wars questions it was either in that match or his match with Chance. I can't remember for sure, but his answers. Oh, you know what? It might have been the match that you won in Full Metal Geek. That match. Is he watching the same Star Wars as ever?
You know, we in the Alpha Alliance chat kind of give him crap every once in a while for we don't give him crap for not being a well-rounded competitor, but there are franchises that he will admit he doesn't know well. Star Wars, Middle Earth, Wizarding World, Star Trek. These are all categories that he will admit he does not know very well. He hasn't seen the movies in a long time. But yeah, there are some times when he just pulls entertaining answers, and that's at least fun. But then there are other times that to somebody who knows that category a little bit better, it's a somewhat easier question. But once again, you still have to have that knowledge in order to feel that the category isn't a weakness. You have to still be a well-rounded competitor to be able to know the answers. And I think that Ryan just had an off day against Chance.
Okay. I have why can't I suddenly talk? Excuse me. I don't know where that came from. Maybe Ryan is drugging me. I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna get some heat for that storyline. I have a strong feeling about that. Anyway, I have a feeling Ryan will be back very strong. Chance, he showed why he is known as the Thanos of this community, but you might be the one to stop him. As we move on to the final fandom match of this week, you taking on your best friend, your former tag team partner, the Maestro, Jake Marangoni. And I always love to hype up your matches and his matches with two taglines. Will the Hobbit move one step closer to finding the precious? Or will the Maestro's Symphony of Destruction continue? And the precious won out in this case.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did that match? How did you feel?
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite matches I've ever competed in. In over a year of competing, that is easily in my top 3 matches I've ever been in. It was so much fun. Jake is a guy I respect so much. He's a good friend. We've been wanting to face each other one-on-one for a long time. We faced in Movie Battleground in a debate format where he beat me on the last question. But we've never faced one-on-one in trivia. And we finally did in a fandom setting. And it was relatively close match at the end of round 1. I believe I had 7 of 10 points. I think I had 7 or 8. I think he had 4 or 5, so it was still relatively close. I ended up getting Disney, which was one of my strengths in round 2. Struggled a little bit. I had to go to multiple choice a couple times, but still did well. Jake got Back to the Future, which is a category that he's relatively familiar with. Again, struggled a little bit. Had to go to multiple choice a little bit. So neither of us were out here getting perfect round 1s. Neither of us were out here getting perfect points in round 2. But we both still performed well when it came down to round 3. We both got questions and categories that we were still comfortable with. Jake, again, is another player who I respect a lot and really is really well-rounded in a fandom aspect. People don't really think it. People see him and think, oh, he just knows scores and soundtracks, or he just knows Marvel. But that's not true. He is a very well-rounded competitor, and I think he showed that in the betting round specifically when he just stuck with me. I played smart. I am not at all one the kind of competitor who's like ahead by a bunch of points and just going to bet zero each time. That's not at all who I am. I'm not here to let the math win for me. I'm here to play. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to score points. So I'm not the kind of person, even if it's going to like guarantee me a win, I'm not just going to sit there and bet zero the whole time unless it's a category that I don't feel comfortable with. Almost all the time, I will bet points because I want to score more points. But yeah, ultimately, I took the win by TKO. It was a relatively close match. Jake stuck with me a lot, and especially in round 2, he did really well in Back to the Future, which is a category that I'm comfortable with, but I wouldn't consider it a strength. Ultimately, I'm really excited to see where Jake goes next because he had a monstrous debut in singles fandom. I believe, unless Chance broke it against Ryan, I believe Jake still has the singles points record. So from his debut. So Jake is a great player. Can't wait to see where he goes next. But I am happy that I've moved on to the next round, and I'm excited and looking forward to what's coming next in this tournament.
Before we get to what's coming next in said tournament, what's it like having the kid on commentary for a match that you are in?
It's a little bit weird, but I kind of like it. The kid Caleb Coho is a guy. He's kind of my number one fan, which I am very. It humbles me to know that I have fans. Like a year ago, when I did my first match ever, my debut match for World Movie Trivia, I didn't think a year from now I'd be contending for belts and having fans like the kid. Yeah, he's a great kid. He's a nice guy. I was really happy to see him on commentary, and yeah, I hope that we see more of the kid around.
I would like that very much too, because the king is a dick. Shoot, what was I going to say next? Oh, yes. Do you think he loves you a little too much that you might want to install a lock on your door?
Not yet. I don't think he's at that point yet. He is a super fan and he's very gracious to me. He's a very nice person. But I don't think any lines have been crossed yet. But that's not to say that they might not get that far eventually.
Okay. So you're on the lookout, but you're not ready to call animal control just yet.
Definitely.
Okay. So you've beaten a New Zealander. You've beaten an Aussie. Your next challenge is a Canadian, and his name is the Omega One, Alex Warden. Someone you have a lot of history with in various leagues, various divisions of those various leagues. You guys are facing off once again. I wish it was me instead of him, but that's not how life works sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're facing him. How does this matchup feel, especially when compared to the other matchups that you've had with him in the past?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to facing Alex again. Him and I have faced one-on-one in normal movie trivia, when we faced one-on-one in that league, again, different format, different league. I beat him on the last question of the last round. It was a very, very hard-fought battle, very, very close battle. We faced multiple times in multi-man full metal matches. I've beaten him on some occasions. He's beaten me on some occasions. We've faced in triple threat formats. We've faced a lot, and it's been pretty even so far. But we have never faced one-on-one in a fandom setting, in a geek setting. That's never happened. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think Alex is a great geek player. He's a great fandom player. He knows his stuff for sure. There's no doubt. You don't get into the semifinals without knowing your stuff. But I think I'm a little more well-rounded than he is. I think I have a little bit deeper knowledge than he does. I think there's some categories that he is not as strong in that I am very strong. Things like Middle Earth, Wizarding World, Disney, Pixar. These are 4 categories right out the gate that I am very strong in that I don't think Alex is as strong in. Now, that's not to say that I am touting my win already. I'm absolutely not. I am not overlooking Alex at all, because that would be incredibly foolish given his record and his history in all of the leagues and in all of the formats and in all of the divisions. Alex is a great player. He knows his stuff. It's going to be a battle for me, but I absolutely am confident in saying that I can overcome him. He's look at who he's beat to get here. He beat Jim Green in the first round. Jim is, in my opinion, the most underrated fandom player that this tournament has seen. Jim got, I think, a little bit unlucky that day. He didn't bet as smart as he could have. Jim bet a little bit differently. He probably could have beaten Alex. That was an incredibly close match. I believe that was the only round one match not decided by TKO or KO.
You are on that?
Yeah, it went down to the last question, and had Jim bet a little bit differently, he could have beaten Alex. So Jim is an extremely underrated player. Alex barely squeaked by him, but Alex earned that win. Alex plays you, then you guys still have a battle. You hang in there. You take him towards the end. Alex still plays very well, and Alex comes out the top over you. Now I am looking to face Alex, and I am confident saying that I can
win. I'm sorry, I'm taken a little back by a recent announcement made by Phantom Fights GM Kane McMillan. He says, and I quote, August 17th in Phantom Fights, the King will play the Kid one-on-one in an exhibition match. Can Robert Parker Superfan #1 beat the King? I don't know what to expect with this match, but Timothy Smith made me make this thing a thing. So, breaking news, folks.
All right.
The Kid is going to face the King on August 17th. Well then.
That's going to be an interesting exhibition match. I'm going to vote for my fan. I'm going to be the fan of the Kid. I think he's going to take down the King.
I'm going to root for the Kid as well. Take down that nasty King, boy. Okay. Refocus. Okay, so I was really hoping Grant would be here for this part because yesterday there was the comic book trivia and TV. There was the comic book movie. Let me rephrase: comic book, TV, and movie trivia showdown, free for all. Winner was going to get a title shot against Kane McMillan. You have not seen this match. You were originally supposed to be a part of it. You were actually supposed to be number 28.
Yeah.
You had to drop out at the very last second, and then you gave me a message saying, hey, I can't do 3 p.m. Let's go later in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for that. This weekend was really a mess for me scheduling-wise. A lot of stuff came up really last minute, just other family commitments and things like that, and that came first for me as far as priorities. But I really wanted to fight in that comic book league match. I'm 1-0 in that league. I've actually beaten the King before in that league. I'll never let him forget it. But yeah, I was supposed to come in second last, and man, I would have. I haven't seen the match, so I don't know the questions, but I like to think that I would have done very well. But either way, I'm looking forward to watching this match when I get the chance to, and I'm sure it's an entertaining match regardless. And either way, I do know the winner. Either way, I think Kane is retaining that belt.
Really?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
First off, Kane is a faction member, Alpha Alliance. He runs the Fandom League. He's always writing questions for the Fandom League here at Multiplex. He's one of the great question writers, one of the nicest guys in the entire league, and he's got the knowledge. He knows his TV, he knows his movies, he knows his comics. I definitely think Kane takes this match.
I respectfully have to disagree. I feel like the winner of the free-for-all, who I won't say until at least Grant comes on, because I want you to enjoy that match in its fullest, and also maybe check out the video I posted this morning afterwards. I feel like just the winner of that match is someone who has just been on with the exception of one fluke of one flub. He's been on a hot streak these past couple weeks, these past couple months, in fact, and I feel like that person should not be doubted.
It's not that I'm well. It doesn't matter right now. It's not that I'm doubting the winner of this match. It's more so that I really know what Kane knows, and also I think this person who did win is a slightly overrated player. I definitely got the knowledge. Don't want to disrespect at all. Great person. Very nice person. But I think. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think luck has definitely been on their side as of late.
All right. All right. Let's move into the question segment of the show. Again, some of these questions were also meant for Grant Gregory. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If he does not make it onto this stream before we close out the show, whenever he is ready, we will do an impromptu second episode in the next 24 hours of Around the League with Nico. Grant will be the main guest, just as you have been the main guest for today, because I know he really wants to talk about his free-for-all. I know he wants to talk about facing you in Movie Warzone. He's a good guy, just as you are, and I would enjoy the conversation very much. He and I have talked about MMA a lot, and I'm interested to hear his thoughts on Multiplex and the ongoings here in the Schmodown fan community. So let's get to our first question here. This is from, let's see here. This is from the first, where is the link? Yeah, where did the link go? Here we go. Okay, first question. And this is Brooklyn Vale's favorite question. What is your favorite sandwich? And also he asks, what artist / band was your favorite live?
Okay. I'll do the second question first. My favorite concert that I've been to live. I have not been to that many concerts. But two come to mind. The first was at my school, which was Judah and the Lion, came to my school this last spring. That was a really great show. The second one that comes to mind was I have seen Walk the Moon live, which is one of my favorite bands. So those two come to mind instantly as my favorite live concerts. The second question of my favorite sandwich is I love a good PB&J, and I also really enjoy like a ham and mayo. So I know it's a little bit basic, but those are the go-to for me.
I've already answered the sandwich question 2 weeks in a row, so I'm going to skip that one and go straight to live concerts. In my adult life, I've been to, if I've been to more, I'm forgetting them, but there are two concerts that I specifically remember. One was my 21st birthday. My friends took me to see Half Moon Run, which is a Canadian band, and they my friends almost got us kicked out because they smoked weed right in the middle of the concert floor, where the security guard could see smoke coming from where we were standing. And also, I remember I was probably dancing the weirdest for someone who had nothing to drink for their 21st birthday. So, yeah, I'm a very drunk-looking dancer when I'm the most sober guy in the room. The other concert I remember was, and this is bringing back memories of my dad. We went to go see Bruce Springsteen. Why can't I say his name? Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. And just being in that environment. We were in a box seat, I believe, in the it's known as the PPG Paints Arena now, but it was the Consol Energy Center back then, and it was so much fun, so much fun. Like they call him the boss for a reason because he is. Let's see. Next question. This is from your boy. Oh no! Wait! Hold on. This is from Eli McKay. Which Lord of the Rings film is your favorite?
All three? That's an impossible question to ask. It depends on the day. I know. Okay. Most days, my favorite Lord of the Rings film is Fellowship of the Ring. and that's because I think it is the most distinctive beginning, middle, and end to a film of the three. I think all three films are literally perfect. The first one is the most rewatchable. It has the best world building. It's the best character moments. It's where you see the Fellowship as a group together, really bond within themselves, and really all focus on the one goal of getting Frodo safely to Mordor. It's the most quotable. I think it has the best like production design. It was nominated for the most Oscars. Most people think it was Return of the King, but Fellowship was nominated for 13. Return of the King only 11. Most days it's Fellowship of the Ring. Some other days I really like the action in Return of the King. Some days I love some of the other character beats and subplots in Two Towers. All three are perfect films. Most days it's Fellowship.
Speaking as someone who has procrastinated on watching Middle Earth related content, what is the best way to break these films up into small digestible bites for someone who doesn't want to sit down for 3 hours?
So definitely, I mean, I'm kind of biased, but I would always say watch the extended versions. If you don't have access to the extended versions, or don't watch them because they are long films, just the trilogy of extended versions, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, altogether is over 12 and a half hours of content, which is just a lot to sit down and watch for a lot of people. I've done it multiple times in one day, but I'm also a geek. I would say if you have access to theatrical versions, watch it in like hour increments. Or, if you can sit down and watch all of Fellowship, do that. If you can sit down and watch all of Two Towers, do that. Definitely watch them in order so you get the full arc of the story. But if you're trying to break it up, do like 40-minute to hour increments, and that should split it up relatively easily.
And it will flow at once you go back to the next part of the chunks that you've broken.
Yeah, so whenever and this is just for me personally, not just for Lord of the Rings, anytime that I'm trying to split something up and I can't just sit down and watch it all, I watch it in 40-minute to 1 hour increments, and then I start at the scene before I end it on to make sure I remember exactly where we were, and then we continue with the story.
All right, I will keep this in consideration for when I finally have to dive into that pool. The Phantom Fight GM, Kane McMillan, he asks his regular question of favorite film, movie that got you into film, biggest guilty pleasure. And he also asks, what would you rank Fantastic Beasts and where to find them out of 10?
You Fantastic Beasts, first off, I think is a terrible prequel movie. I think it is literally a failure as a storytelling film. I think it tells a very shoddy and just bad story, and it's very unfocused. Its pacing is terrible. I think it's a very unfocused film, and I really don't like it for that. But also it cost me the Interkingdom Championship, so I like it even less. That's where I rank Fantastic Beasts, Kane, in case you're wondering. My favorite film of all time is, of course, Fellowship of the Ring. Well, it's the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm not picking just one as my favorite film. It's all three. And then the movie that got me into movies, I'm actually going to go with The Iron Giant, which is a great animated movie directed by Brad Bird. It's like a 60s or 50s or 60s period piece film about this boy named Hogarth, and most people watching this have seen Iron Giant.
I actually have not.
It's a fantastic. It is my favorite animated film of all time, and I'm a huge Disney Pixar nerd. But it's not either of those. It's my favorite animated film of all time. It is one that I rewatched dozens and dozens of times as a kid. It's what really got me into storytelling, because I think that script and that story is told so perfectly, and there's so many great character beats. So that's what got me into the medium of film. The movie that got me into acting, I've been a stage actor for almost 13 years. The movie that got me into acting was actually James and the Giant Peach. Which is a movie that I would watch all the time, and I would act out scenes with my sister all the time. So those are the two movies that sort of got me into movies and performances.
I think the YouTube chat is trying to spoil the Iron Giant for me, so I'm not going to look there for the episode. Okay. Jeremy Hastings, I think we already know the answer to this question, but he asks, Robert, you watched my match. How did you survive? And the question The obvious answer is you didn't watch the match.
Unfortunately, I've not watched the TV match yet. Like I said, usually on weekends is when I binge all of the matches and get caught up with everything. But once again, we talked about it. This recording was delayed a little bit. I had to, unfortunately, the very last minute drop out of yesterday's free for all. So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to catch up with everything yet. And I work really early tomorrow, so I'm going to catch up tomorrow. So I will see your match tomorrow.
Okay. Next question is from Ryan Permison. He asks, to you, why do you hate DC films so much? Have you seen other fantasy films? And if so, which are your favorites that don't start and end with Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I'm a huge fantasy fan. Lord of the Rings is obviously my favorite like fantasy franchise, but I love fantasy movies. There are movies like Stardust, which is an amazing fantasy movie. The Princess Bride is the most quotable film of all time, a movie I know literally the entire script of. Other fantasy movies that I love. I already said Stardust. That's a great movie. Aragon, I think, is super underrated. A lot of people hate it, but I really like it because a lot of people hate Aragon, but I love that movie.
I will tolerate anything that has dragons.
Yeah, I really like Aragon. Game of Thrones is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. So I'm a big fantasy fan, and it doesn't just have to be Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to think of other fantasy movies. I like animated fantasy movies, like animated sci-fi fantasy, things like Atlantis, The Lost Empire, things like Treasure Planet. These are really favorites of mine as well. Yeah, what was the other question? Sorry.
Main question was, why do you hate DC?
Oh, I don't hate DC films. There are lots of DC movies I love. I love the character of Batman. There are parts. I don't care how bad the movie is. I don't care if it's Batman and Robin or Batman Forever. I don't care. There are parts of bad Batman movies that I like. I really like Batman movies. I like other DC movies. Constantine is a really underrated DC movie. The problem that I find with a lot of DC movies is specifically the DCEU. I think overall they are poorly paced and sort of just like creations that I don't really like. And even like older DC movies, like the older Superman movies from the late 70s and early 80s, I just don't find very rewatchable. So I'm more of a Marvel person when it comes to, I think Marvel movies are more rewatchable and I retain more knowledge from them and I like the character moments more, but I don't hate DC movies.
Here, to appease Ryan, let's say Warner Brothers or AT&T, who now owns Warner Brothers, called you up and said, hey, we want you to make a movie for DC. What do you pitch them?
That's a great question. I would okay, so this is just once again just because I'm a nerd and this is what I would pitch them. I don't think it'll ever be made because video game movies don't really work. But I would love to see a trilogy of Arkham movies, Batman Arkham movies based off of the Arkham video games, because the Batman Arkham video games made by Rocksteady are my favorite video game trilogy of all time. And I think they tell an amazing story with an amazing voice cast. You know, you got Kevin Conroy as Batman, you have Mark Hamill as Joker. That would be my pitch, would be let's make Arkham Asylum, let's make Arkham City, let's make Arkham Knight, let's turn these into movies. Obviously it's different because it's hard to adapt the feel of like a gameplay into the screen and still tell a coherent story. So that would be my pitch just like off the bat. It would never get made, but that's like my dream.
Well, let me say this. First off, there are 4 Arkham games.
Arkham Origins was not made by Rocksteady, did not have the same voice cast. It is technically not in the chronology of the other 3. I actually like Arkham Origins better than Arkham Asylum. I'm one of the only people you will ever hear say that. I really like Arkham Origins as a game, but overall, it doesn't technically count as being like an Arkham trilogy game.
Fair enough. And secondly, in regards to DC games, I just consider them movies that you can just play along in. Like they're so good on their own that I don't think you need to make movies that are literally the same storyline. Like that's like Injustice 2. you want to watch a great movie, just watch all the cutscenes of that game, and you get a 2.5-hour movie of games.
Mm-hmm.
And as for my own question, which I asked you, which is, let's say Warner Brothers called me up and they asked for a pitch for a DC movie, I would tell them the Indigo Tribe. I am very big on the Green Lantern mythos, specifically when it comes to like the other Lantern Corps. And the Indigo Tribe is one of the most unique of the multiple corps because like they are way different from the other corps. Like as instead of um, rings choosing people who fit that emotion perfectly, the rings instead pick people who have like the Indigo ring is compassion, and basically the Indigo rings seek out people who have zero compassion, and like so like you get this you get this entirely different dynamic from what we're used to seeing on screen with Green Lantern of like okay now these people have the emotion of compassion being driven into them and
Mm-hmm.
and like I remember specifically, at one point, the Guardians tried to shut down the Indigo Tribe, and they removed all the Indigo rings from them. And I remember Indigo One, who was the first Indigo Tribe member. She was like, "Please, I hate not feeling compassion anymore. I want my ring back." So she was the first success story
Mm-hmm.
of that specific core, and that has just always caught my eye as a really great story that needs to be told on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next question from Jake Marangoni again. He asks for Robert thoughts on Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV show.
I have a lot of thoughts on it. I will try to keep this short. I don't think they should be making a Lord of the Rings TV show. I think they should be making a TV show that takes place in the world of Middle-earth. We don't need to see the Lord of the Rings storyline again. I think they're not going to be able to do it justice because the original Lord of the Rings trilogy is so perfect. I don't think there's more that can be explored through a billion-dollar TV show, a huge, gigantic budget. You don't need that to explore the story of the Lord of the Rings. Now, there are hundreds and thousands. There's deep lore. There's other stories in Middle-earth that can be explored. The same thing that people keep saying about Star Wars. Oh, we don't need Rogue One. We don't need Solo. These are stories that we don't need. There's a huge universe. There's mythos. There's lore. There's so many other characters, so many other stories to explore. That is what they should make this TV series on. Give me a Silmarillion TV show. Give me something about give me Tom Bombadil, give me all these other amazing characters. Tell me about Elendil and the original Rise of Gondor. Tell me about the quasi-gods and how Gandalf and Saruman and Galadriel and Elrond came into power. Tell me about the original rise of Morgoth, originally called Melkor, who is Sauron's boss, basically. Like, I know I'm talking gibberish to most people right now, but like there are so many other stories in the lore of Middle-earth that can be told. I don't want to see Frodo take the ring to Mordor again.
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said. Okay, Jake Marangoni is pretty much hijacking the questions in this particular thread. He asks to the both of us if you could choose just one movie, not a trilogy, Robert, one movie to show aliens to explain what a movie is to them. Which movie, again, he emphasizes singular movie, would you choose?
I actually saw this question. I thought about it a little bit. And my answer is 1977 Star Wars, because I think it is the single most influential film in culture. I think it is the film that has forever changed the worldwide culture, creating the modern fandom, popularizing sci-fi and fantasy tropes. I think that is the most influential film of all time, and it's a really good movie. So I'm going with Star Wars.
As big of a Star Wars fan as I am, I feel like if we showed that movie to aliens, they'd be like, why are there so many white people in this galaxy and only?
Well, that's the thing. Like, they would also see it as like how we view the galaxy, how we view the universe. It's still very centric on humans and our story, even though it takes place in a galaxy far, far away. That's another thing that I find interesting about it.
I would probably choose the Princess Bride just because, like,
Speaking my language.
if you want to show them a good movie, then you got to show them the movie that everyone keeps telling to everyone who hasn't seen it to go see it. And when they finally see it, they're like, this lives up to every ounce of hype that everyone who has ever told me how great this movie is.
Yeah.
Best it to be.
It's the most quotable movie of all time. It's the most watchable movie of all time. Princess Bride is my second. Lord of the Rings trilogy, Princess Bride, second favorite film of all time.
Okay, another Jake Marangoni question. I don't know where he's going with this one, but he asks for the both of us, which Lou Diamond Phillips film would you rather watch? La Bamba or Cop and a Half, New Recruit?
I have not seen either of them, so I'm going to Google them real quick.
I only know of Lou Diamond Phillips because he won the season of the remake of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here that NBC aired about a decade ago, I think. And it had like Rod Blagojevich's wife on there too. And
I am going to choose Cop and a Half New Recruit because it's from 2017, which means it's more recent and probably better acted compared to the 1987 La Bamba. So based solely on the release year, I'm going with the newer one.
I'm not even going to try to answer. We have another thread here. These are questions that were added once Grant was supposed to be added to this conversation. So let's try and get through these quickly.
Yeah.
Paulo Yama asks, most underrated competitor in each multiplex division, meaning Warzone, Fandom, Phantom TV, Phantom Teams, Warzone Teams, Sports. Now, some of these are going to be hard to answer simply because matches have not dropped.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go just for the leagues that have started. Fandom, absolutely 100% it's Jim Green. I don't think there's a single doubt that Jim Green is the most underrated player in the Fandom League. I would also put Malcolm up there. I think both of those two people are incredibly underrated. And Nico, I think you're in contention for very underrated as well.
Thank you. I need that confidence.
You've seen some glory. Like it's hard for me to say that somebody's underrated when they still like have a 500 record. Both Malcolm and Jim have negative records, which is why I said them first. As far as movie Warzone, I'm gonna say Russell Howell and I'm gonna say Dan Skip Allen, two incredibly underrated players whose records don't accurately affect how much their knowledge can be.
How do I want to answer this? Phantom, I want to say me just to give myself a giant confidence boost because I could really use one. Warzone. Hard to say because like the division is moving slowly, so there's still a ways to go. So I'll tell you what, Paulo Yama, you ask this question again in a couple weeks when we've had a few more matches in each of the divisions, and I'll give you my thoughts then. Until then, I'm gonna stay neutral on the matter. Jake Marangoni asks again. This was for both you and Grant, but Grant is not here, so I'll save that question for him when he shows up, if he shows up, which he probably won't. Again, we'll do an entirely different with him for probably tomorrow. But Jake's next question is, how do you guys feel about your upcoming match against each other in movie Warzone? So we kind of already touched on it.
We touched on it.
All right, so no need to go over it again. Paulo Yama asks again, for you, do you think any players know any category as well as you do Middle Earth and Potter? If so, who and what categories?
I think Case Cornelison knows Star Wars better than I know Middle Earth, which is saying something. Other than that, Kane McMillan knows MCU really, really well. As far as pure categories, like other people definitely have big strengths. And I'm not here just to like talk myself up and I know every blah blah blah. Like that's not the kind of guy I want to be. But I think Case is the big one because of his Star Wars knowledge. Other than that, there are definitely people who have strengths. Kane has a strength in MCU. Sandy has a strength in Star Trek. Things like that. Like people are very strong in certain categories. Overall, as a whole, I have proven, I think, that I know Middle Earth really, really well, and the same goes for Wizarding World.
Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Oh yeah, these are all of Jake's questions from before. Okay, Jim Green asks, and he asks you this. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the heated rivalry between Kane and Jim over which Shrek film reigns supreme?
I'm gonna answer the question. We're gonna leave it. Shrek 2 is superior.
Can you give me some context as to who is in favor of which movie?
Yeah. So Jim, this has been a long-standing argument in the Alpha Alliance chat for months. My understanding of the argument is Jim is wholeheartedly in favor of Shrek. Kane is wholeheartedly Shrek 2. We took sides, Alpha Alliance Civil War, every single day debating Shrek versus Shrek 2. Shrek 2 is superior.
Can you tell me which one Brian is in favor of?
Probably the first one. I don't remember. I can look back in the poll. I don't remember.
Okay. Let's see here. Paulo Yama asks, for everyone, favorite meme that comes from a movie and favorite GIF from a movie.
Well, my favorite meme from a movie is one does not simply walk into Mordor. Obviously, like that. I don't think there's another option. As for GIF, I love the Thanos GIF of a picture of Thanos and it says, "I hope they remember you." I don't know. That's just the one that pops to mind right now. If I had some more time, I could probably think of a better one. But those are easily favorite meme and probably favorite
GIF. Favorite GIF, I will go with the scene from the ending clips of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back where they beat up the child. That is just one of those GIFs that I feel like I need to use in certain comment sections.
Mm-hmm.
Debates are going south. And in terms of memes, I'll leave the memes to my my client and faction mate, Jen Kemp. She is better at those than myself, so I will defer to her for that. Michael Campbell asks, question that you missed that you're still mad about. I think we have...
Fantastic Beasts!
Yes, and...
would have won the goddamn title.
And I don't want to say my answer because I know...
Can I say it for you, or should I just leave it? Because I know what yours is, too.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. People know.
A certain antler crown-wearing fool will never let me live it down ever again. So, yeah, we can move on from that. Michael Campbell also asks, what movie-related podcasts do you listen to, if any?
Ooh, I listen to a ton of movie podcasts. I listen to the Top 10 show. I listen to the Cinephiles, Outlaw Nation when it talks about movies, and even when it doesn't. JTE Movie Things. A lot of stuff on the SK Plus network in general. I listen to a good friend of all of these channels, Dave Goodger, does That Major List. I'm an active listener of that podcast. Notorious by Chance. Russell and Chance have their podcast together. I listen to that all the time at work. Yeah, I'm very much a movie podcast listener.
So I used to be
critically acclaimed. Sorry, that was another one that just came up.
I used to be really into wrestling related podcasts, but lately I haven't been watching. I haven't been listening to any podcasts that much, with the exception of Force Center with Ken Knapsack, Joseph Scrimshaw, Jennifer Landa, Star Wars guy. That's one of the best Star Wars podcasts out there. And anytime I'm going for a morning walk, it's just nice to listen to an episode of Databank Brawl and hear them come up with hilarious stories for characters you don't really think about that much from the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Paulo Yama asks, random movie moments that you find funny that you don't think many other people do.
Oh, there's tons that I find funny. I'm gonna go with the vomiting scene from Team America: World Police. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but that is a scene that I don't think is entirely meant to be funny, but like the music swells and it's a puppet just puking his guts out. I think that scene is hilarious.
I tried to watch Team America World Police before bed one time, and for some reason I just couldn't get into it about 20 minutes in,
I don't blame you.
and I just turned it off. Which is sad because it's made by the guys from South Park, which I am a gigantic fan of. Let's hear scenes that I find funny that other people might not. Why am I blanking? I shoot. I feel like I should have one, and I just don't.
That's all right.
Ah well. Oh well. Let's see here. Where is the next one? Oh, Michael Campbell asks, best movie theater experience.
Oh, there's a ton. I used to work in a movie theater, worked there for about a year and a half. There's a lot that I can go into. I did a bunch of really crazy double features. I'll just throw out a couple. I did a double feature of Jurassic World and Dope. I did a double feature of A Walk in the Woods and War Room, which crazy double feature. A double feature of Inside Out and Ant-Man. That was a really great night. One of my favorite movie experiences ever was seeing The Force Awakens opening night because I was working that night at the theater. I was selling tickets. Almost every single showing sold out. It was on a Thursday night, opening night, and I got cut from my shift 5 minutes before the last showing started. So I bought a ticket and I ran in there and I caught Force Awakens, and I stayed up way past at that time my curfew in high school, and I was really tired the next day at school, but I had seen Force Awakens opening night, so that was great. Seeing Avengers Infinity War just recently, well, not recently, I guess a couple months ago in theaters, that opening night showing was amazing. Seeing Last Jedi, I had a really great experience with that in the theater with my roommate. So yeah, that's just a couple.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet, which is something I don't normally do, but my most recent movie theater experience is probably up there in my favorites right now. It was my second viewing of The Incredibles 2, and the main reason why it was so enjoyable is because it was in a theater with recliners.
Nice, Dream Launchers, yeah.
Yes, and it was also free. It was a free experience and recliners, so I was just like, I'm just going to relax and enjoy this movie where I already know everything's going to happen, but I can enjoy everything again.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of the biggest Jack fans there is. All right, so, oh, dear Lord. Caleb Coho. Okay. Do you think Caleb can beat Chance? Do you think he will ever hold a title, be it fandom, comic book, or otherwise? He also asked, will you beat Alex? And who do you hope to play more in the finals if you do win, Caleb or Chance?
Sure. I'm definitely confident in being Alex. Once again, I'm not overlooking him. He's an amazing competitor, great guy, knows his shit. I definitely think I can beat him, though. I think I'm more well-rounded than he is. Caleb, I could definitely see you holding a title in specifically the comic book league. You really know yourself in that league. Even in fandom, if questions and categories go your way, I think there's a couple of categories you probably need to study up on a little bit, specifically Wizarding World and Middle Earth. But you definitely know your stuff in the comic book movies and some other categories like Indiana Jones and James Bond. You're very strong in those categories. Beating Chance, possible. I never say anything is impossible. There's no such thing as a statistical impossibility. Improbable, maybe, but I don't think impossible. I think if the categories and the questions go your way and Chance has a bad day or the questions and categories don't go his way, I definitely think that there is an opportunity for Caleb to beat Chance. Now, if I make it to the finals and beat Alex, hopefully when that happens, I would prefer to face Chance just because I want retribution because I lost on the last questions because Fantastic Beasts. And I want to prove definitively that I can absolutely beat Chance one-on-one. I'm one of the only people ever to beat Chance one-on-one in just normal movie trivia. But I want to prove that I can do it in fandom as well, and I really think I can. So I would prefer to see Chance in the finals. Part of that is also last time the King and I faced in a Geek or a Fandom League, I TKO'd him. Now, he's definitely improved since then. He has definitely improved since then. And I would love for the finals to be the King versus the Hobbit. That'd be a great match. But I want retribution against Chance.
Okay, Ryan Permison. Oh, wait, this is a question for Grant. So, because of, well, maybe I can ask you some of these too. He asks, favorite Marvel or DC comic?
Not a big comics person, so I can't answer that.
All right. All right. We'll skip that question. I'll save it for Grant, and we'll just get to this one last question. You mentioned you're hoping to face Chance in the finals of the Phantom Fight Championship tournament. There have been rumors that Chance is Schmodown bound. There have also been rumors that you might be Schmodown bound. Is there anything you can tell us?
I haven't heard rumors at all of the second half of that statement. Obviously most people in this community have heard the rumors of the first half. Don't know if anything's true. Like, that's not like me like trying to hide anything. I don't know anything. I really don't know. So if that does happen for Chance, that's an awesome opportunity. I'd be really, really happy for him to go represent the league, all of these leagues, and represent himself and us really well, because he would kick ass there. So yeah, if that is in the works, I wish him absolutely the best. But I have not heard any rumors about myself. I also live halfway across the country, so not as easy for me.
One last question coming in from an anonymous source. Is Ryan on heel watch?
I don't know. Ryan has, well, first off, he's on the Shrek side of the argument instead of the Shrek 2 side, so don't know about that. But I don't think so. He's a proud member of the Alpha Alliance. I really see the best in him at all times. He's had a couple missteps recently in matches, but I really believe in him to pull through.
All right. I appreciate you for staying on as long as you have. This was a great chat from a great competitor, someone I have a lot of respect for in this community. Robert Parker, the Hobbit. Moving on to round 2 of the movie Warzone Championship Tournament. Moving on. Become a thing here. Where can the good people of the internet find you?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd at RBRTPRKR98. It's my first and last name, no vowels plus a year. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook at Robert Parker. I'm all around the different Facebook pages of all the different leagues of the Schmodown. I'm on Take 3 every once in a while. I have some appearances on that. But yeah, I'm just kind of around everywhere. So hit me up on Twitter and Letterboxd if you want to follow me movie watching. You can see how much I genuinely do study, especially for the fandom tournament. Like, I watch a lot of fandom movies, so you can track that on my Letterboxd. But other than that, I really, really want to thank you and Multiplex for having me on. This was a great talk, great chat. I really like talking the league, answering questions. So I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico, Suave, Regoli. You can find Multiplex Entertainment on the Facebook group and the YouTube channel of the same name. Twitter account is at MultiplexYT. Instagram is at Multiplex Entertainment Network. Go buy our shirts on TeePublic. I am not wearing one of them right now, but Robert, the Hobbit Parker is. That is the Alpha Alliance shirt. Get that. Get the House Night Fury shirt. Get the Harley's Hit List shirt. Get all the shirts, all the belts, all the shirts. I'll make that a hashtag, all the shirts. And this has been Around the League with Nico. I'm Nico, and we'll see you next time. Squeeze!